Welcome to the world of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. Commander Ryland Voss stood on the observation deck of the Eclipse Horizon, Earth's flagship diplomatic vessel. The stars stretched endlessly before him, their cold brilliance offering little comfort. He had spent years navigating interstellar politics, negotiating treaties with alien races that viewed humanity as either an annoyance or an upstart species clawing its way into galactic relevance. Yet nothing in his experience had prepared him for this moment. "Commander," Admiral Cale Drayan's voice crackled through his comm unit. "The Altherian envoy has arrived." Ryland turned from the viewport and adjusted his uniform, a crisp navy blue adorned with silver insignias marking his rank. "Acknowledged," he replied. "I'll meet them in the docking bay." As he made his way through the ship's corridors, his mind raced with questions. The Altherians were one of the oldest and most advanced civilizations in known space. Their technology bordered on magic, their culture shrouded in mystery. Why would they offer their princess, their greatest beauty, to humanity? It reeked of ulterior motives. The docking bay doors hissed open, revealing envoy Terran Solis standing beside a tall figure cloaked in shimmering silver robes. The envoy's pale blue skin glowed faintly under the artificial lights, his expression serene yet unreadable. "Commander Voss," Terran greeted him with a slight bow. "It is an honor." "The honor is mine," Ryland replied diplomatically, though his tone carried an edge of skepticism. His gaze shifted to the cloaked figure beside Terran. "And this must be Princess Lysara." The figure stepped forward and lowered her hood, revealing features so striking they seemed unreal, skin like liquid gold, eyes like twin galaxies swirling with violet light, hair cascading down her shoulders in waves that shimmered like starlight. The room seemed to hold its breath. "Commander Voss," she said in a voice that resonated like music woven from light itself. "I am honored to meet you." Ryland felt an uncharacteristic pang of unease as he met her gaze. There was something behind those mesmerizing eyes, a shadow of fear or sadness that she quickly masked with regal composure. "The Altherian High Council sends me as a gift," she continued, her tone formal yet tinged with something deeper. "To fulfill an ancient covenant between our peoples." Ryland forced himself to focus. "A generous gesture," he said carefully. "But I must admit I'm curious about this covenant. It's not mentioned in any historical records." Terran Solis stepped forward smoothly. "It predates your written history, a pact forged in blood and starlight when your ancestors first gazed at the heavens." Before Ryland could press further, Admiral Drayan's voice interrupted over the comms. "Commander Voss, you are instructed to escort Princess Lysara aboard immediately for further discussions." Ryland nodded curtly and gestured for them to follow him. As they walked through the corridors of the Eclipse Horizon, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being drawn into something far larger than himself, something dangerous. Hours later, in his private quarters, Ryland reviewed everything he knew about the Altherians while sipping a glass of whiskey, a rare indulgence he reserved for moments when diplomacy felt less like negotiation more like warfare. Lysara had been assigned quarters nearby but had yet to emerge since their arrival aboard. Her silence only deepened his unease. "Commander," came Admiral Drayan's voice over his comm unit again. "We've received additional information from Altherian sources regarding Princess Lysara." "What kind of information?" Ryland asked sharply. There was a pause before Drayan replied gravely, "She may not be just a gift, but also a test." Ryland set down his glass slowly as dread coiled in his chest like a serpent waiting to strike. The games had begun. The days that followed were a carefully orchestrated dance of diplomacy and observation. Lysara, despite her otherworldly beauty, moved with an unnerving grace that seemed to unsettle even the most seasoned diplomats. She was a quick study, absorbing human customs and etiquette with an almost unnerving speed, yet she remained an enigma, a closed book written in an alien language. Ryland found himself drawn into countless meetings with Altherian envoys, each encounter feeling more like a chess match than a genuine exchange of goodwill. The Altherians spoke of mutual prosperity, cultural exchange, and the strength of their newfound alliance, but Ryland couldn't shake the feeling that they were hiding something, a truth buried deep beneath layers of diplomatic rhetoric. He tasked Dr. Ivana Kaur, a brilliant but eccentric xenobiologist, with studying Lasara's physiology. Ivana was ecstatic about the opportunity, her lab transforming into a chaotic yet meticulous exploration of alien biology. "Commander," she reported after days of intensive study, her eyes wide with fascination, "her cellular structure is unlike anything I've ever seen. It's almost crystalline. And her energy output is off the charts. It's as if she's a living power source." "A power source for what?" Ryland pressed, leaning forward in his chair. Ivana hesitated. "I don't know yet. But whatever it is, it's significant. Her body seems designed for something beyond mere existence." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Dax Corvin, a stoic security officer assigned to protect Lasara, reported a series of strange incidents occurring around the princess. Lights flickering without cause, computers crashing inexplicably, and even reports of heightened emotional states among the crew whenever she was nearby. "It's like her presence is amplifying everything, Commander," Dax said, his brow furrowed with concern. "People are on edge, arguments are breaking out over nothing. It's unsettling." Ryland felt a knot tighten in his stomach. The pieces were slowly falling into place, painting a picture far more complex and dangerous than he had initially imagined. One evening, Ryland found Lasara standing on the observation deck, gazing out at the star-strewn expanse. He approached her cautiously, his senses on high alert. "Princess," he said, his voice calm but firm, "I need to ask you some direct questions." Lasara turned to face him, her violet eyes shimmering in the dim light. "I expected as much, Commander." "Ask away. Why did the Altherians send you here?" Ryland asked bluntly. "What is the true purpose of this covenant?" Lasara hesitated for a long moment, her expression shifting from regal composure to something akin to grief. "The truth is complicated, Commander. The covenant is not what you believe it to be." "Then tell me what it is," Ryland urged. "What are the Altherians hiding?" Lasara's voice dropped to a whisper. "The Altherians are not as benevolent as they appear. They know something is coming, something terrible. They sent me here, as a catalyst." "A catalyst for what?" Ryland pressed, his mind racing. Lasara took a deep breath. "For awakening." Before Ryland could ask her to elaborate, the ship's alarms blared to life, bathing the observation deck in red light. "Intruder alert," the ship's AI announced. "Multiple unidentified vessels approaching." Ryland cursed under his breath. "Show me the visuals." The main viewscreen flickered to life, displaying a fleet of alien ships unlike anything he had ever seen before. They were sleek and predatory, their hulls a matte black that seemed to absorb light itself. "Who are they?" Ryland demanded. "Unknown, Commander," the AI replied. "But their energy signatures are hostile." Lasara's eyes widened in alarm. "The Voidborn," she whispered, her voice filled with dread. "They have found us." Ryland stared at the approaching ships, his mind struggling to comprehend the gravity of the situation. The Altherians had sent Lasara to Earth knowing that this would happen, that humanity would become the target of a hostile alien force. "Lasara," he said urgently, "what are the Voidborn? What do they want?" Lasara shook her head, her face pale with fear. "They are destroyers. They consume worlds, leaving nothing but emptiness in their wake. The Altherians hoped that humanity, that you would be able to stand against them." Ryland stared at her in disbelief. "Hoped? You mean they don't know for sure?" "They believe in your potential, Commander," Lasara said, her voice pleading. "But time is running out. We must prepare for war." As the Voidborn ships closed in, Ryland knew that everything had changed. The diplomatic games were over. The true purpose of the Covenant had been revealed. Humanity was not an ally, but a pawn in a desperate gamble to save the galaxy from annihilation. The aftermath of the Voidborn attack plunged the Eclipse horizon into a state of controlled chaos. Rylan, despite his initial shock, took charge, coordinating with Admiral Drayan to assess the damage and prepare for potential further attacks. Lysara, surprisingly, remained calm, offering insights into the Voidborn's tactics and weaknesses that proved invaluable. "They are drawn to energy signatures," she explained, her voice steady despite the turmoil around her. "They seek to consume sources of power, leaving nothing but barren husks behind." Rylan realized that Lysara's knowledge of the Voidborn was far more extensive than the Altherians had let on. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was only seeing a fraction of the truth. "Why didn't the Altherians warn us about this?" he demanded, his voice tight with frustration. "Why keep us in the dark?" Lysara hesitated, her expression troubled. "The Altherians have their reasons. They feared that if you knew the full extent of the danger, you would succumb to despair. They believed that ignorance, in this case, was a form of strength." Rylan scoffed. "Ignorance is a weakness, Lysara. It leaves us vulnerable." "Perhaps," she conceded. "But sometimes, hope is found in the unknown." In the days that followed, the Altherians contacted Earth with a proposition, a series of trials designed to test humanity's worthiness to stand against the Voidborn. These trials, they claimed, would assess humanity's diplomatic skills, survival instincts, and capacity for sacrifice. Rylan was skeptical. It felt like another manipulation, another way for the Altherians to control humanity's destiny. But with the Voidborn threat looming, he knew they had no choice but to cooperate. "We will accept the trials," he told Admiral Drayan. "But we will do so on our own terms." He assembled a team of the best and brightest from across Earth, diplomats, scientists, soldiers, tasking them with preparing for the challenges ahead. Captain Joran Steele, a seasoned survival expert, was appointed to lead the team through the physical trials, while Rylan himself would handle the diplomatic aspects, with Lysara by his side as a guide. The first trial was held on a neutral planet designated as the Arena of Accord, a vast, open space where different species could meet and resolve conflicts peacefully. The Altherian overseer, Elder Varen, greeted Rylan with a polite but distant demeanor. "Commander Voss," Varen said, his voice resonating with ancient wisdom. "The first trial will test your ability to negotiate peace between two warring factions. Success will demonstrate your capacity for diplomacy. Failure will prove your unworthiness." The two factions were the Kryll and Navoroth, two species locked in a bitter conflict over dwindling resources. The Kryll were insectoid warriors, fierce and territorial, while the Voroth were reptilian strategists, cunning and ruthless. Rylan knew that mediating between them would be no easy task. He spent days listening to their grievances, studying their cultures, and searching for common ground. Lysara acted as his translator and cultural interpreter, her understanding of alien psychology proving invaluable. "The key," she told Rylan, "is to find a shared interest, a goal that both factions can agree on. Only then can you hope to break the cycle of violence." Rylan realized that Lysara was not just a princess, but a skilled diplomat in her own right. He began to see her not as a pawn in the Altherians' game, but as a powerful ally. After days of intense negotiation, Rylan proposed a solution, a joint venture to explore and colonize a new planet, offering both the Kryll and the Voroth access to new resources and a chance to rebuild their societies. To his surprise, both factions agreed. The treaty was signed, and a fragile peace settled over the Arena of Accord. Elder Varen nodded in approval. "You have passed the first trial, Commander Voss," he said. "But the challenges ahead will be even more difficult." The second trial tested humanity's survival skills. Rylan's team was transported to a hostile planet teeming with dangerous flora and fauna. They had to survive for a week without any advanced technology, relying only on their wits and their training. Captain Steele led the team with unwavering determination, teaching them how to find food, build shelter, and defend themselves against the planet's predators. Lysara, despite her delicate appearance, proved to be surprisingly resourceful, using her knowledge of alien ecosystems to their advantage. One day, while exploring a dense jungle, the team stumbled upon a hidden cave. Inside, they found ancient artifacts, relics from a long-lost civilization that had once inhabited the planet. As they examined the artifacts, Lysara suddenly stiffened, her eyes widening in alarm. "This place, it's dangerous," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "There's a dark energy here." Before Rylan could react, the ground began to tremble. The cave walls cracked, and a monstrous creature emerged from the shadows, a hulking beast with razor-sharp claws and glowing red eyes. The creature lunged at the team, its roar shaking the very foundations of the cave. Captain Steele and his soldiers opened fire, but their weapons seemed to have little effect. Lysara stepped forward, her hands glowing with violet light. "I can't hold it for long," she said, her voice strained. "You have to find a way to stop it." Rylan knew that Lysara was drawing on her alien powers to protect them, but he also knew that her strength was finite. They had to act quickly. He noticed a series of symbols etched into the cave walls, symbols that matched those on the artifacts. He realized that they were a key, a way to control the creature. Working quickly, he deciphered the symbols and activated a hidden mechanism within the cave. The ground began to shake even more violently, and the creature roared in pain. A beam of light shot down from the ceiling, engulfing the creature in its radiant glow. The beast writhed and struggled, but it was no match for the ancient power. Slowly, it began to dissipate, its form dissolving into nothingness. When the light faded, the creature was gone. The cave fell silent, the only sound the ragged breathing of Rylan and his team. Elder Varen appeared before them, his expression unreadable. "You have survived the second trial," he said. "But the final test will require a sacrifice that you may not be willing to make." Back on the eclipse horizon, Rylan confronted Lysara. "What did Varen mean by sacrifice?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. Lysara looked away, her expression troubled. "The final trial, it's about more than just survival. It's about choice. About deciding what you're willing to give up for the greater good." "What kind of choice?" Rylan pressed. Lysara hesitated, then took a deep breath. "The Altherians believe that humanity possesses a hidden potential, a latent power that could be unleashed to defeat the Voidborn. But unlocking that potential, it requires a catalyst. And that catalyst is you, isn't it?" Rylan said, his voice barely a whisper. Lysara nodded slowly. "My powers, they are connected to a source of energy that resides within humanity. By channeling that energy, I can awaken your latent abilities. But the process, it's dangerous. It could destroy me." Rylan stared at her in disbelief. The Altherians had sent her to Earth not just as a gift, but as a sacrifice. They were willing to let her die in order to save themselves. "I won't let that happen," he said, his voice filled with determination. "There has to be another way." Lysara smiled sadly. "There isn't, Rylan. This is my purpose. This is why I was sent here." As he looked into her eyes, Rylan realized that he was falling in love with her. He couldn't bear the thought of losing her, but he also knew that the fate of humanity, and perhaps the entire galaxy, depended on her sacrifice. He was faced with an impossible choice. Save the woman he loved, or save the world. The third trial loomed over Rylan like a specter. He knew that it would involve a sacrifice, and he feared that Lysara would be the one to pay the price. He spent sleepless nights poring over ancient texts, searching for a way to unlock humanity's latent potential without endangering her life. Meanwhile, General Eric Venn, the leader of Earth's military forces, was growing impatient. He saw Lysara as a threat and believed that humanity should focus on developing its own defenses rather than relying on alien magic. Commander Voss, he said during a tense meeting, I understand your attachment to the princess. But we can't afford to gamble with our survival. We need concrete solutions, not mystical prophecies. Rylan bristled at his tone. Lysara has provided us with invaluable insights into the Voidborn. She is an asset, not a liability. An asset that could turn against us at any moment, Ven countered. I propose we secure her in a controlled environment and focus on developing our own weapons. Rylan knew that Ven was speaking for a large faction within Earth's government, those who distrusted aliens and believed that humanity should stand alone. He had to tread carefully. General, he said, his voice calm but firm, I assure you that Princess Lysara poses no threat to Earth. She is bound by the covenant to protect us. And what is this covenant, really? Ven scoffed. A fairy tale whispered by aliens to manipulate us. Rylan hesitated. He knew that the true nature of the covenant was far more complex and dangerous than anyone realized. But he couldn't reveal the truth without Lysara's permission. The covenant is a promise, he said finally. A promise of mutual support and protection. We must honor it. As the day of the final trial approached, Rylan sought out Lysara. He found her meditating in her quarters, her face serene despite the turmoil around them. Lysara, he said softly, I need to know everything. What is the true nature of the covenant? What are the Altherians hiding? Lysara opened her eyes, her gaze piercing. The covenant, it was not an alliance, Rylan. It was a safeguard. A safeguard against what? He asked, his heart pounding in his chest. Against an ancient enemy, Lysara said, her voice barely a whisper. An enemy that threatens both our species. Rylan stared at her in disbelief. The Voidborn? Lysara shook her head. The Voidborn are merely a symptom. The true enemy, it is far older, far more powerful. It is a force of chaos and destruction that has plagued the galaxy for millennia. What is it? Rylan pressed. What are we facing? Lysara took a deep breath. It is called, the Voidborn entity. A being of pure darkness, born from the void between universes. It feeds on energy, consuming worlds and leaving nothing but emptiness in its wake. Rylan felt a chill run down his spine. The Voidborn were not just invaders, they were an existential threat to all life in the galaxy. The Altherians knew about this? He asked, his voice tight with anger. They knew about the Voidborn entity, and they didn't tell us? They feared the truth would break you, Lysara said. They believed that humanity was not ready to face such a terrible enemy. But why send you here? Rylan asked. Why make you the catalyst for awakening humanity's latent potential? Lysara's expression turned sad. The Altherians knew that they could not face the Voidborn entity alone. They needed an ally, a species with the strength and resilience to stand against the darkness. They believed that humanity possessed that potential, but it needed to be unlocked. And you were sent to unlock it, Rylan said, his voice filled with bitterness. To sacrifice yourself for our sake. Lysara nodded slowly. It is my destiny, Rylan. I have accepted it. I won't let you, Rylan said, his voice filled with determination. There has to be another way. The day of the final trial arrived. Rylan, Lysara, and the rest of the team stood before Elder Varen in a vast chamber filled with ancient Altherian technology. The final trial, Varen announced, his voice echoing through the chamber, will test your capacity for sacrifice. To unlock humanity's latent potential, you must activate the Nexus Core, a device that channels the energy of the universe. But the process will require a sacrifice of great magnitude. Rylan knew what was coming. He braced himself for the inevitable. Princess Lysara, Varen said, turning to her, you are the key to unlocking the Nexus Core. You must merge with the device, channeling your energy into the core to awaken humanity's latent abilities. But the process will consume you, extinguishing your life force. Ryland stepped forward, his eyes blazing with anger. I won't allow it. There has to be another way. Varen shook his head. There is no other way, Commander Voss. This is the only path to victory. Lysara stepped forward, her expression calm and resolute. Ryland, it is time. I am ready. Ryland reached out and took her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. I love you, Lysara, he whispered. I love you too, Ryland, she replied, her eyes filled with tears. She turned to Varen and nodded. I am ready. As Lysara approached the Nexus core, a dark energy surged through the chamber. The ground began to tremble, and the air crackled with electricity. The Voidborn, someone shouted. They're attacking. Suddenly, the chamber doors burst open, and a swarm of Voidborn creatures flooded into the room. They were grotesque and terrifying, their bodies twisted into unnatural shapes, their eyes glowing with malevolent energy. Protect the princess. Ryland shouted, drawing his weapon. The team opened fire, unleashing a hail of bullets and energy blasts. But the Voidborn creatures were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. As the battle raged around them, Lysara remained calm, her eyes fixed on the Nexus core. She reached out her hands and placed them on the device, her body glowing with violet light. The Nexus core began to hum, its energy building to a crescendo. The chamber shook violently, and the Voidborn creatures recoiled in fear. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from the Nexus core, engulfing Lysara in its radiant glow. Her body began to shimmer and fade, her form dissolving into pure energy. Ryland watched in horror as Lysara sacrificed herself to activate the Nexus core. He knew that she was gone, but he also knew that her sacrifice had unleashed something extraordinary, a power that could change the course of the war. As Lysara's energy surged through the Nexus core, a wave of light washed over the planet. Humanity's latent abilities were awakened, granting them newfound strength and resilience. The Voidborn creatures recoiled in terror, their forms dissolving into nothingness. The tide of the battle had turned. The Nexus core pulsed with raw energy, bathing the battlefield in blinding light. The Voidborn recoiled, their forms flickering as the awakened power of humanity surged through them. Ryland felt a surge of strength unlike anything he had ever experienced, a primal force that resonated deep within his soul. But the victory came at a cost. Lysara was gone, her essence intertwined with the Nexus core, her sacrifice a beacon of hope for a galaxy teetering on the brink of annihilation. Ryland felt a profound sense of loss, a void in his heart that mirrored the emptiness the Voidborn sought to create. General Ven, now imbued with the same latent abilities as the rest of humanity, stood beside Ryland, his expression a mix of awe and grim determination. What do we do now, Commander? He asked, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. Ryland gazed out at the battlefield, his eyes scanning the remnants of the Voidborn forces. They were weakened, but not defeated. The true enemy, the Voidborn entity, was still out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to strike. We fight, Ryland said, his voice resonating with newfound conviction. We honor Lysara's sacrifice by defending everything she believed in. He turned to Commander Lyra Talan, an Altherian warrior who had fought bravely alongside humanity during the attack. Commander Talan, contact your superiors. Tell them what has happened here. Tell them that humanity is ready to stand against the Voidborn entity. Lyra nodded solemnly. I will do everything I can, Commander. But the Altherian High Council, they are not easily swayed. In the weeks that followed, humanity and the Altherians worked together to prepare for the coming war. Earth scientists and engineers, their minds sharpened by the awakened potential, developed new weapons and technologies capable of harnessing the Nexus core's energy. The Altherians shared their knowledge of the Voidborn entity, revealing its weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Ryland, now hailed as a hero, found himself thrust into a leadership role, coordinating the efforts of both species. He was driven by a single purpose, to avenge Lasara's sacrifice and protect the galaxy from the void-born entity. But as the war loomed closer, tensions began to rise. The Altherian High Council, still wary of humanity's newfound power, insisted on maintaining control of the Nexus core, fearing that it could fall into the wrong hands. General Venn, echoing the sentiments of many on Earth, argued that humanity should control its own destiny and not rely on the Altherians for protection. Ryland found himself caught in the middle, trying to bridge the gap between two species with vastly different cultures and perspectives. He knew that unity was essential to defeating the void-born entity, but he also knew that trust was a fragile thing, easily broken. One day, while exploring the Nexus core chamber, Ryland discovered a hidden chamber, a secret sanctuary where Lasara had spent her final days. Inside, he found a holographic recording, a message she had left for him before her sacrifice. Ryland, Lasara's image said, her voice filled with warmth and love, "If you are watching this, it means that I am gone. But know that I do not regret my decision. I believe in humanity. I believe in your potential to create a better future for the galaxy." She paused, her expression turning serious. "But I also know that the path ahead will not be easy. There will be challenges, betrayals, and moments of doubt. But you must never give up hope. You must always remember the values that unite us: compassion, courage, and a willingness to sacrifice for the greater good." She smiled sadly. "And Ryland, please, don't let my sacrifice be in vain. Forge an unbreakable alliance between humans and Altherians. Show them that we are stronger together than we are apart." As the recording ended, Ryland felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew what he had to do. He had to honor Lasara's wish and unite the two species against the void-born entity. The final battle took place near the edge of known space, where the void-born entity had gathered its forces for a final assault. Humanity and the Altherians arrived with a combined fleet, ready to face the darkness. The void-born entity emerged from the shadows, a colossal being of pure chaos, its form constantly shifting and changing, its eyes burning with malevolent energy. It unleashed a wave of dark energy that threatened to consume everything in its path. Ryland, piloting a specially designed fighter equipped with Nexus core technology, led the charge against the void-born entity. He weaved through the enemy lines, dodging blasts of dark energy, his mind focused on a single goal: to reach the heart of the void-born entity and destroy it from within. He knew that it was a suicide mission, but he was willing to sacrifice everything to save the galaxy. He had made a promise to Lasara, and he intended to keep it. As he approached the void-born entity, he unleashed the full power of the Nexus core. A beam of pure energy shot out from his fighter, piercing the heart of the void-born entity. The void-born entity screamed in agony, its form convulsing and collapsing. A wave of light washed over the battlefield, destroying the remaining void-born forces. The void-born entity was defeated. In the aftermath of the battle, peace returned to the galaxy. Humanity and the Altherians forged an unbreakable alliance, vowing to protect each other from future threats. Ryland, though still mourning the loss of Lasara, dedicated his life to building a better future for both species. He became a symbol of hope and unity, a testament to the power of love and sacrifice. As he stood on the observation deck of a new diplomatic vessel, gazing out at the stars, he thought of Lasara. He knew that she was always with him, watching over him, guiding him on his journey. He smiled sadly. "We did it, Lasara," he whispered. "We saved the galaxy. And we did it together." And as the stars twinkled in the night sky, Ryland knew that her sacrifice had not been in vain. One woman had changed the fate of two civilizations forever, forging a bond that would last for eternity.